Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining me today. It's Allan Laboucan with the Rocks and Stocks News Show. I've got one of our sponsors and good friends to the show in Tim Froude from Sokoman Minerals. Sokoman had some very good results out this morning that I'm excited to talk to Tim about. The highlight hole was 69.4 grams per ton gold over 4.85 meters. They had another good intersection in there and lots of gold, and we're going to talk about that today. Tim, congratulations on that awesome hole.
Well, thanks, Alan, and hello to all of your followers. It's always good to be back. And listen, when you're excited, I'm excited, especially when you're excited about what I'm excited about.
Well, how can you not be? That's like seven. Well, inside of that, you had 176 grams
Yeah,
over
yeah,
2 meters.
yes.
And so the 69 grammer over 5 meters, that's like 350 gram meters. And even if you look at it, the 1.9, it's 260 some grams. So there's good residual grade in there as well. Heck of a hole
Yeah, no,
there.
we're back in the saddle again. It's a good way to kick off the new year. And of course, all of these holes that we're reporting this morning are from the Western Trend, where
Yeah.
something really, really good happened last fall. We dug that trench and exposed for the first time, Alan, mineralization, high grade mineralization on this project, which was game changing. Essentially, we were able to see the high grade and its relationships. We were actually able to see even the beginning and continuation of what we call splay mineralization off of the main north sort of trends, and it's helped us tremendously. Dr. Collar, we had Dr. Collar over again, and he was really impressed with what he saw, and he helped us put together this current program that's ongoing. Actually, the drill will start next Monday again for an indefinite period of time. We've got a minimum of 10 holes planned for this same area, basically extending the mineralization that we're reporting today, both in the north-south direction and down plunge. So yeah, it's it's like the old days. Remember those?
Yeah, I do very well. Well, Tim, I'm like a dog on a bone. When I see that super high grade in an orogenic gold system, I know they're not easy to figure out. But I also know the prize at the end of the day is, look what happened with Red Lake, Gold Corp in Red Lake, Ontario, Fosterville in Australia. Those weren't easy to figure out. They were mined for 20 years before they found the bonanza. And so, you guys are 5 years into it, and that's I'm very impressed with that trenching that you did. Not a lot of people probably paid attention to it, but it gives you a snapshot of what you to look for underground.
Absolutely, and we've kind of poked at the Western trend a couple times in the past, but kind of gave up in frustration when we weren't able to duplicate some of the old intersections that we were chasing. And just as a sideline, it's remarkable what that trench exposed. Not just spectacular geology, but as well, we were able to see where an old Altius hole had collared into the high grade quartz vein when we exposed it. When we washed it off, we found this. Here's a vertical hole right in the trench, and it's interesting because that particular hole, it could only be one hole based on it being a vertical hole that actually collared in high grade mineralization. And what we realized, it was a bit scary when we realized this at first, but obviously it solved a lot of problems for us in the Western Trend, is that it's actually 15 meters offset from where we initially thought it was, which probably explains why we kind of had a couple of hits or misses in trying to hit high grade, older high grade intercepts in that area in the past. So thankfully, we were able to see this and realize that, okay, well, yeah, it kind of explains a lot. So it seems to be just limited to a few holes in that particular area, Alan. And But again, what a chance that was. I mean, put that hole right there, or sorry, put that trench right there, and not only exposed to high grade, but to find a hole that's kind of unlocked a little bit of a mystery for us. And this happens with data and drill holes all the time, as I'm sure you're aware, that holes sometimes are plotted in the wrong spot for whatever. But anyway, we seem to be on the right track again now. We've had a great run of drill holes at the Western Trend. All of those holes that you saw today in
Before we
this
get
morning's
into
press.
that,
Yep.
Tim, I wanted to mention to my audience that, you know, depending on how long ago a hole was drilled and the positioning system that is being used, this happens more than people think it happens, where you think a hole is here and it's actually 15 meters over there. And, Great Bear Resources, which was a huge success, I'm good friends with Bob Singh, and he is a great modeler, and he's really meticulous about where holes are plotted in his model. And he found the same thing. And that's why they were able to unlock the potential of Great Bear, was that some of those holes were also not where they were in the reports, because it was done a long time ago. Now we've got precise GPS systems, but so you guys must have had your eyes open. Hey, what's that hole doing there?
Yeah, well, it didn't take us long to figure out what was going on, and I think just to bring that point home for your audience, I'm going to share screen and actually bring up the trench,
Okay,
and
cool.
I think we got it. You got it? Can you see it?
Yep, I can see
Okay,
it.
so basically, this is the Western Trend trench here. So we're looking at probably a 25 to 30 meter north to south thing. So the high grade vein system is actually this mash of veins here. And I'm going to zoom in now right to this point right here. And there you can see it, right? There's
Oh,
that,
wow.
there's the drill hole there. And like I said,
Holy,
based on it being a vertical hole, because it is straight down and collared in high grade quartz, and you can probably see quite vague here, but see these lines here?
yeah,
Those are bands of belangerite. So whenever we get the belangerite, of course, this is where our grade goes through the roof. And
okay.
so we were able to then determine that, yeah, there was a slight shift in a few of the older drill holes. Had a bit of a eureka moment, saying, "Oh, okay, well that makes sense now. Why hole such and such didn't get what we thought we would get." We may go back and revisit a couple of these holes, but right now we're on a good run here with the Western Trend, and essentially, yeah, we're going to start drilling again next Monday, a minimum of 10 holes, but that's just the start. We're probably going to drill here for the rest of the winter, I would say, until spring breakup. And
Now, this image here, folks, a lot of people don't pay attention to this kind of stuff. But when Tim and I did an interview about this trenching, it was kind of a eureka moment for me as well, because now you can actually see the veins, instead walk on them instead of looking at them through a drill hole. And I it was like I looked at this and I go, oh, look at the pinching and swelling. Look how one vein goes off in another direction. And I started to think to myself, well, if you're drilling that underneath the ground and you don't see this, it can have a really impact on where you drill the hole. And correct me if I'm wrong, the modeling that Dr. Collar was able to do is probably why you've had these recent results to report.
100%, 100%, Alan. And what it really opened up for me was what are how many more of these things are out there. This is just a beautiful example of a high grade vein, just following, I guess, the path of least resistance and blowing out here to something that's a couple meters wide, and there is visible gold in this as well. We've sampled this stuff. So
So think about that, folks. If you were drilling from east to west at the bottom of the picture, you'd cut that vein, no problem. Now, if you move to the middle of the picture and you drilled from east to west, you might miss that splay vein completely.
Mhm.
And but it's there. You can see it with this trenching. That's amazing.
Yeah, no, we've been so fortunate. This trench has basically transformed our understanding of these of the in particular, well, in particular the Western trend, because we had kind of given up on it. Like I said, we had made a couple of kicks at the cat here to try and duplicate some of the older intersections, and partly because of obviously a little bit of a shift in some of the older drilling that we now know, but as well, I mean, now we're saying to ourselves, well, maybe we shut the hole down too early, thinking that
Right?
we were past the target, but in fact, it had curved. It had gone off in another direction. So um, there's a few areas where we're going to go back and revisit, definitely. But right now, our goal is basically to chase this system because this is where we're going to take our bulk sample. This is where the conventional bulk sample is going to come from. And uh, knowing now what we know, we're obviously going to modify perhaps the shape and geometry of the blast pattern to obviously take out more of the good stuff than more of the stuff that's running half a gram or less, or in some cases a couple of grams. Yes, but obviously we're going to want to try and get as much high grade out of this as possible. Who wouldn't? So
And
yeah,
Tim,
it's
when you do that trenching, how deep are you going to go? So you're going to see some more of what's immediately under your feet.
Yeah, it depends on, like I said, how the blocks are going to come out of this. I've never done this before, to be honest. I'm totally honest here. I've never taken a bulk sample before, so I'm at the I'm at the mercy of the engineer that will obviously have to sign off on this program for us, uh, and yeah, I mean, we're definitely going to see some more stuff, and hopefully this. Well, we know it continues to depth because I mean we've chased it down now. So this is now plunging off in this direction here, slightly sort of north of east,
Okay.
fairly steeply dipping as well, and potentially could be another candidate for the surgical mining method that we're going to be using at the at the footwall splay, which is about 200 meters to the east of this, off the page to the right. So,
And even in that trenching, you also, oh, by the way, Tim, I got a piece of advice for you because I actually worked on a bulk sample for diamonds.
okay,
And the advice is don't overblast when you're bulk sampling for diamonds. Because although they're hard, if you hit them the right way, they break and they turn into dust. That's a side story. But on the trenching, you also found visible gold right at the surface, right?
yes, we did. Yeah, there's probably 60 to 70 specks of visible gold all through these
Oh,
splays and up along here, in through here, out here. There's high grade, and even in this one, this is a blob of mafic dike, and you can see this vein here
yeah.
cutting through there. There's even visible gold in this vein, which we I don't think we've seen visible gold in a vein within the mafic dikes
Oh,
before this. So we've had a couple of instances where we've had some decent grade, 8 to 10 grams, but not visible gold. So it's amazing what we've seen and learned from this beautiful exposure, and it's yeah, we're just so lucky to put it where we did.
well, and Dr. Collard must have really liked it because it helps him to model these things down to depth. And I mean, you hit that at 41 meters below surface, and that's an angled hold probably. So
Yeah.
what is the actual depth vertically?
Probably about 25 or 30 meters or so, which is probably the depth that we're going to, blast this down to. It depends on, like I said, how much wall rock we're going to have to take. Again, I'm not a miner, but and I do know that you obviously have to take safety in consideration and getting the equipment in there and stuff. All things that need to be worked out and something that we'll be working on in the next few weeks for sure. So, exactly how much quartz versus wall rock we'll take, it's probably not for me to decide.
Right.
It's just going to be how many, because we get 1,000 cubic meters is the size we're taking, Alan. That's the size that up to 1,000 cubic meters in this province does not require an environmental assessment. Once you
Oh,
go over 1,000 meters, then you trigger the whole get the feds involved and everything like that. And suddenly we're waiting 2 years to do this. Whereas less than 1,000 meters, you just tell them when you're done, basically.
well, I'm really excited about that because that gets you another 10 or 20 meters down for Dr. Collard to look at 20 meters underneath his feet.
Well, just do the math. So 1,000 cubic meters. So let's just say from here down in the bottom out to here is 25 meters. So you take something that's 4 or 5 meters wide. What's that? 125 by 8 meters deep, sort of thing.
So
So
there
that's
you go.
kind of um, and hope like hell we're still in quartz. But I think we are. I don't think we have to worry about that problem. I mean, we've done enough
Well,
drilling right
here's a perfect example. You're 25 meters and you're still in the courts and you're at 70 grams over 4.85 meters.
now. Yeah, yeah.
Cool. That's
But
awesome.
now, obviously, those are drill hole results, which is HQ core, which is a good sized core. But this is really going to tell the tale as to what the grade could be based on it being a much bigger, obviously, in a true sample as opposed to a kilo of rock as core. We're looking at 2,600 tons.
Well,
So
that brings up a really important point, Tim, because, I've seen coarse gold systems. And for example, I was early into Pretium and their Brucejack discovery. And the grade, when they were able to get in there in a bulk sample compared to the grade, I think it was like 300 or 400% higher because you're taking all the rock and it's representative of what's really there instead of poking a hole through it and getting lucky or not lucky with the distribution of the coarse gold.
absolutely, yeah. And obviously, these systems are notorious, for being, victims of the nugget effect, and uh, we see that. We see that in the drilling we've done. We go from 400 gram meters more or less down to 10, and that's the range you're going to get. But with the bulk sample, you get to incorporate all of that material, the 400 gram meter stuff plus the 10 gram meter stuff, and hopefully you meet somewhere closer to the 400 gram meters when you're done for the day. But we'll find out. We'll find out.
And that is a cautionary note for people that are looking at an orogenic gold system or any nuggety system like an epithermal vein system, is that you have to be careful about whether you think something is a success or not. You might think that, oh, well, this 1 meter intersection over here only had 2 grams. But you go down 3 more meters and you could be back into the spectacular stuff. That's the nature of these high grade, nuggety, coarse gold systems, folks. You have to be careful about thinking that this is a hit, this is no good, this is great, because you literally could be a half a meter away from something that when you mine it, you find, oh, spectacular, spectacular, spectacular.
Yeah,
It's all spectacular.
absolutely, Alan. Yep, right on the nailed it. You nailed it.
Tim, you can you share the news release? Because there's something really juicy in there that got me smiling.
Okay. Well, don't let me hold you back here, brother. Just give me a second.
So
News.
we could look at the highlights. We could look at the table. So there's some highlights, folks. You got some sweet looking numbers there.
Yep.
Then if you go down to the table, you can see, folks, that there's good gold mineralization in almost every hole, I think, Tim.
Yeah, there's one NSV. That's it. Which,
Okay.
yeah, there was one hole that just didn't give us very much. I think it did get the structure,
Yep.
but the vein had either pinched out or had been faulted out. And we see that in this system. Every zone we have here, all of the zones have this. You'll chase it down for 50, 60 meters, and then it's suddenly pushed over to the side a little bit. But no, you're right. I mean, here's hole 646,
Well, and
4.4.
that trenching actually shows you the phenomenon that you just mentioned. You actually see it under the rock underneath your feet,
Yes.
of why this could have a NSV in it.
Yeah, for sure. And again, you look at all these results. I mean, all of these holes cut that zone, and you see the range of results you're getting. Some of them are wider than others, but um, the true high grade is probably more like a couple of meters, maybe 2, 3, 4 meters, like you saw in the trench photo I showed you. It is up to 3 or 4 meters thick in places,
Yep.
and and we're seeing lots of juice in that. So it's not just restricted to one spot in the vein. If we get that belangerite, if we start seeing the belangerite, we don't always see the VG, but we know we're probably just centimeters away from nuggets of gold because that's the way the system is. We know it now.
Well, Tim, I almost, in these orogenic or coarse grained gold systems, I often pay as much attention to go back up to your table there. I almost pay as much attention to those yeses in the column that says visible gold.
Oh yeah, yeah,
As as
yeah,
long as I keep seeing visible gold in an orogenic gold system,
yeah,
I'm a happy camper.
yeah. And look at this one here, hole 642. It was 2 meters of 7.03 grams. And if memory serves me correct, I think the weighted average of all of the channel sampling we did back when we announced that, I should have had that press release. I'm traveling, I'm on the road, don't have all my files with me, but I think it was about 7 grams, I think worked out to be the average of the channels. So here you go. You go
Wow.
from less than a gram up to 176 grams, but the median for the channel sampling, and we tried not to run them all over because it's hard not to, as you know, right? When
Yeah.
you see a speck of gold, not to go for it, sort of and include it in the sample. We tried to be just okay here, and we'll measure it, and then we'll go another couple of meters, whatever the spacing was on those channel samples, um, and try to avoid being selective and biased by
Well,
just
that
sampling.
that shows you that you weren't really selective because you're now down 12 meters below that and you got the same grade.
Yeah, yeah. And actually, if it looks to my look, if I look at this correctly, the deeper holes are actually the higher grade. So maybe grade is improving with depth. The old iceberg theory.
Yeah.
Everything
Wow.
gets better and better with depth. The tip of the iceberg sort of thing.
So
But
now
yeah,
you go
yeah,
down and you get to something that always makes me smile, Tim.
yeah.
That
There we go.
V,
There it is.
look at all that VG there.
And actually, this is kind of deceptive because there's actually more gold in this particular piece of core than it's shown. I think I got the loonie on top of some of it actually, but yeah, this is the highlight hole, and we've actually had a hole 648, which was the hole previous to this, actually cut a band of gold that
Oh,
was almost continuous around the core. It wasn't disseminated like that. It was almost like a band. It was actually on a stylolite,
oh my
and
gosh.
it almost went right around the core, which is nice to see. Uh, this is a great press release. It's really boosted our morale, and hopefully it'll boost the morale of our shareholders. And the market kind of responds. I don't know what's going to happen later today when this thing gets opened up, but um, the market will do what the market will do. But
Yeah.
I think uh, you know, at some point the market should turn and good results should be rewarded. Uh,
Another thing I don't think a lot of people really understand, Tim, is when you're looking at that visible gold there, um, you're looking at it from the outside of the drill core, Now,
Yeah.
if you were able to do an X-ray into that drill core, you would see those specks in many more places than just what you're seeing on the outside. That's, folks, why you get things like 70 grams over 4.85 meters, is because you're not just getting what you see, you're getting what's inside the core too. And
Yes.
that's why I pay a lot of attention to visible gold in these kind of systems, Tim.
Yeah. Well, here's where that Western Trench actually sits in real space. So the blue outline here is roughly the shape of what we would call Western trend mineralization, as largely defined by Altius back when they had the project, and of course some other work, some other holes by us. But what I want to show you here is just how these holes actually we're reporting today are quite a distance apart.
Oh,
646 and 649, like the red here is 75 meters. So that's about 125 meters, a long trend. So, this zone is really starting to pick up. And
wow.
again, kind of left for dead a couple of times, but that's the nature of the beast. And
Well,
we
she's
we had
back
so
to
many other
life,
zones,
Tim.
and we had so many other zones to chase. It was, we've got like 7 zones of high grade mineralization. And speaking of zones, the football splay here, this yellow guy here, this is where we're going to do as a surgical sample with Nova Mira later this year, and that's about 150, maybe 200 meters further to the east. And yeah, we're actually in negotiations with Nova Mira now to actually sign a formal contract for that, and that should be done in the next few weeks. So it's going to happen. It's going to happen.
I really hope people don't lose sight of what you just highlighted there, Tim. You got that one hole of 69.48 over 4.85 meters, 125 meters away. You got 26.72 grams over 3.1 meters. That's what you want to see, Tim.
Yeah, well, and it's good to see, because I think people had kind of given up, and I understand that. If you're not putting out 8 or 10 good holes with every press release, I understand why people would kind of lose patience and give up. But again, it's the nature of these systems, and you keep bringing up this point, and it's so true that Red Lake and Fosterville were run-of-the-mill projects or mines for many years until suddenly someone decided to put a hole in a different place or whatever, and suddenly, yeah, everything turns upside down, and you you
You got a
yeah,
company maker.
yep, yep.
Wow. That's some sweet looking stuff there. And Tim, I really wasn't expecting to see that kind of stuff over in the Western Trend.
No, well, like I said, we had gone back a couple times in the past 3 or 4 years with a few holes here, and a few holes there. I called them CEO holes that the exploration manager didn't really want to drill, and yeah, generally he was right. He said, "Tim, stay out of it." And but anyway, he did chose this trench, and wow, what a winner it was! And it's changed our focus. For the better, for I hope, for the next little while. And again, drilling starting next week, following up on these very numbers. So there could be more of these coming.
Well, I'm not just glad for you, Tim, that you did that. For my audience, I'm always trying to educate people about uh, exploration and these orogenic gold systems. And what you show in your trenching, people should be paying attention to, not just for Moosehead, but anytime they're looking at an orogenic gold system. This is really educational stuff, folks, that you should pay attention to and keep it in your mind for the rest of your career, that you're looking at orogenic gold systems.
Yeah,
These things are not easy to figure out, but why they're worth figuring out when you've got visible gold like that and those kind of grades is because the prize is a Red Lake or a Fosterville, and you got to stay determined to keep going at it until you figure these things out because the prize is so spectacular.
Yeah, and again, sometimes you do happen to get a second chance on a property, and I'd like to think that that happened the minute we dug that trench and saw what was exposed, and basically our eyes, sort of, whoa, hang on a second. This is important stuff that we're looking at here, and yeah, we're now seeing the results of that. So we're looking for another half dozen holes or so coming in the next few weeks, the results that is, and obviously looking forward to more of the same in the drilling that's about to start. But again, you're talking about the nugget effect. In any one of those earlier holes, 638 down to 646, uh, just a half meter to the left or to the right, or higher or lower, they could have had 20, 30, 40, 50 grams. It looked like they should have, but again, it's just the way these nuggety systems work.
Yeah. Well, I'm really happy, Tim, you did that work, and I'm really happy for you. I'm happy for my audience. I'm happy for your shareholders, because this is big stuff what you guys are doing. This is big boy stuff what you guys are doing now, Tim. And I really had a eureka moment when you showed me that trench data or that trench, and I saw the way those veins were acting underneath your feet and could only imagine what's happening 2 or 3, 400 meters below the feet. And getting someone like Dr. Cullard on there to be able to put his feet on that stuff, it's already paid off here in these recent holes.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, you can never get tired of looking at this thing. We've got a print that is made. It's about the size of a Van Gogh. It's huge. It's almost life size. And we got it in our office in our apartment out in central Newfoundland. And we look at it every day and just say, yeah, this is Moosehead. This is what Moosehead is all about.
Yeah, well, and this is just the western portion. You've got all that corridor on the east side that you got to figure out too. And I've been a big fan of this Moosehead project for a long time, and as you have you, I think I first started following you when you made your discovery hole, and I'm glad to see this recent breakthrough, Tim. Congratulations to you and your team for persistence, my man.
Well, I'm just a mouthpiece for now. It really is the team's work and the team's reward here to see these results come back like they have, and we're excited about the future. Certainly, the next couple of dozen holes, hopefully, will return more of the same, and we'll end up chasing this thing down a couple of 100 meters. Um, and like I said, there's going to be a bulk sample taken of this. All this nice juicy rock is going to end up in the back of a rock truck at some point soon.
I like the sounds of that. Before we close off, Tim, let's look a little bit into the future. So, what do you guys have any more holes pending, or what's going on? You'll let's talk about the near term.
Yeah, there's about another half dozen holes that we're expecting to come back in the next few weeks, and we'll get those out as soon as we can. And again, the drill should be on site next Monday for just a continuation of this program to chase it further north, further south, and down plunge. I think Ryan's got 10 holes on the books already. That's enough forward-looking material for now. But as we knock off those holes, obviously other holes will be required to follow up on. Hopefully, more of what we've seen here in the last 19 holes. And yeah, I don't see us stopping drilling here until spring. Really, it's
Oh,
yeah.
perfect. Is most of that drilling going to be over in the western trend, or are you putting some over in the east? What's the situation there, Tim?
Well, we're gonna, because money's tight. As you know, we just raised 1.5 million. This time last year, we were able to raise almost 4 million. So I'm already, half as poor as I was last time, this time last year. So we got to kind of spread it out carefully.
Yeah.
And what will happen, and I think will is something that obviously we have to figure out with Nova Mira, is just how many more test holes we'll need to put in the footwall splay in order for them to properly assess where they're going to move the big drill in when that comes in sometime next summer after it's finished with Great Atlantic. And that's one thing I'm really pleased to hear, is that the rig will be moving to Newfoundland quite soon, and we'll actually be on the rock here, doing a job for a project that's not very far away from us, Great Atlantic. They're doing exactly what we're doing here. They're chasing high grade VG bearing veins, and they're going to do a bulk sample with Nova Mira. Uh, and that'll help us a lot because we'll learn a lot from them, and as well, cut back on the cost of shipping a humongous drill from Brazil all the way up to Newfoundland. So that makes me smile as well, to cut back on those costs. And um, yeah, it's it won't get here soon enough. Put it
So
that way.
you're planning that for this summer? Is that the thing, Tim?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so just tell our audience, so you're going to do a bulk sample here at the Western Trend,
In the spring, yeah, this
and
spring,
then
or if not earlier, if it's a mild winter.
explain to people what the Nova Mira process is that you're doing. I know you throw it off there, Tim, but my audience might not understand exactly what that style of bulk sampling is. So run that down for us, please.
Okay, so just to clarify, yes, we are doing two separate bulk samples at Moosehead. One will be in the Western Trend. Basically, you're looking at what material will be feed for that bulk sample, and that's going to be a conventional, what I call a conventional bulk sample. Basically, we're going to drill it and then blast it and scoop it out and throw it aboard trucks and get it, bring it somewhere to get processed. Um, so that's going to happen sometime in the first quarter, probably maybe early in the second quarter. It depends on the weather in Newfoundland, can be kind of sketchy at that time of year. And, we want to make sure that we're not into 4 feet of mud on the roads and things like that. So, but it will happen sometime between the first and second quarters. Then we're going to do a second bulk sample with a company called Nova Mira, and they've got their own technology, proprietary technology for basically mapping out quartz veins in 3 dimensions. And it's kind of like a downhole EM system that they use to basically map the shape and the dip and everything, the trend of quartz veins, so that they can more accurately position a big diameter drill. So here's what we're going to do. We're not going to drill a drill hole that's this big. We're actually going to drill something that's equivalent to a tunnel. It's a 2 meter wide bit.
Oh,
So
that
basically what they
sounds
do,
like what are those where you
it's,
have the drainage in a road manhole
yeah,
cover.
yeah, right. So basically they position the drill to, and it basically it follows only high grade, or that's the plan, right? I mean, obviously there's going to be little wrinkles here and there. You might get a little bit of wall rock, but that's the beauty of that system, is that it stays entirely within the high grade system. It creates no waste because um, you're mining ore, and as opposed to rock and ore and waste that you then have to separate, and there's a waste pile and then an ore pile. This produces 100% of what you want it to produce, which is high grade gold. And then once they've drilled, I think they're going to drill 3 holes down to about 60 meters in the footwall splay and take out the sample in chunks like that. And then as they finish a hole, they just fill it back in with cement. So there's no waste, there's no pollution, and the rock is already crushed because it comes out almost as a slurry, and you just send it off and
Oh, is it sort of like a hammer that's breaking the rock up as it's going in,
it's like a
almost
humongous
like an
trichome.
RC?
It's like a humongous trichome bit that they use in the oil industry.
Oh, okay, okay.
And then air basically forces the crushed material up. So it comes up like quarter-inch size material. So
Wow.
it's ready to be run through a Nelson concentrator. And we know from our metallurgical work with KMET in BC that about 85% of our gold in these veins that we've sampled metallurgically just falls out in the gravity circuit.
So it's
And
all
that,
free gold.
yeah, it's all free
Oh,
gold. And
wow.
then the rest of the gold that's tied up with a little bit of sulfide that's there floats off, and you just treat it with a little bit of cyanide. And we end up recovering 98.6 of the gold percent
Oh,
of the gold that's in the system.
but you said 80 some percent comes out
Yeah,
from gravity?
yeah. They even said in their report, very, very, very high grade concentrate you'll get from the just the gravity alone. They, they, they said it, normally you don't get that. It 50, 60%, but we're in the 80s. So it's magic. I like it.
Well, that just goes to show you how much coarse gold is in there, right?
Yeah,
Free
yeah,
gold.
yeah. And it's not refractory. It's not tied up in anything. So it's associated with these sulfides, but it's not like locked in like Carlin type refractory gold or anything like that. It's free milling gold.
So it's just sitting there in the quartz, ready to
Yep.
be crushed and use gravity to get it out of there.
Yeah. But again, to reiterate the point about it being very clean, there's no tailings, there's no stockpiles. Basically, it pumps out into I guess a tanker or something, and takes it off to wherever it is you're getting it processed, and fills in the holes with cement and plugs them, and just cover back over again. You'd never see anything happen there.
Wow. So can their technology help you target deeper as well?
Yeah, yeah, but I think it would be too costly. I think you're probably better off just drilling,
No, I'm
standard.
not, I don't mean for bulk sampling. Like if they're able to precisely know, okay, here's where I'm going to hit quartz and I'm going to go 60 meters down, I'm going to keep in the quartz. Is that something, that targeting method that they have, is that possible to use for targeting deeper as well?
No, I think the limitations of the technology, Alan, are 3 to 5 meters around the actual hole.
Okay, okay,
It's designed for narrow vein situations like Moosehead, like these, right?
okay,
Where you see wall rock, and it's 2 or 3 meters wide. That's what it's designed for.
okay. Do you have anything you want to close on, Tim?
Um, Again, I keep saying this, but stay tuned. I think the best is yet to come for Moosehead. How many times have you heard me say that? But you know what? It's going to be a pivotal year, Alan. The project has grown up a lot. It's no longer just drilling and putting out assay results. We're now doing two types of bulk sample here. Obviously, for comparative purposes, it will be more costly to do the Nova Mirror sample. I mean, just to collect it will probably take about $2 to $3 million. Whereas a conventional bulk sample, you're looking at probably a couple $100,000, $500,000 maybe. Uh, but you're also mining a lot of waste rock, so you have to weigh the cost per ounce that you recover,
Right.
and that's partly why we're doing this. We're going to see what the cost per ounce is to get it out with a conventional method versus the Nova Mirror method.
Ah, okay. Yeah, that's interesting too. So you're kind of almost doing test mining.
Not allowed to say mining.
Oh, test sampling.
This is exploration. It's still exploration. A bulk sample is considered exploration.
Yeah,
You're not actually mining. I mean, we don't have a mine plan. We have so how can it be mining
but
if
you
you're
are getting data that is pretty good stuff for what it would look like in a mining scenario. Let's say it that way.
yeah, yeah. And like I said, we'll know, like I said, what A versus B, apple versus orange. Which way do we want to go with this project? It'll go a long way towards determining the future of Moosehead, really, and that is conventional mining the way to go? Um, or is it to using Nova Mirror's method? Yeah, you'll leave some gold in the ground, but is it worth it
Right, right. Gotcha.
to get it
Wow.
all, like that? I mean, and just the mining method itself, it's the most environmentally sound program I've ever seen. I've
It's
never
like
seen anything.
surgically
You're mining and
mining.
you don't have any waste.
You're
Who ever heard of that
surgically
before?
mining, right?
Yeah.
Wow. Well, Tim, congratulations. It sounds like you're going to be a busy boy in the next little while with drilling and more assay results and then bulk sampling traditionally here and then 6 months down the road, bulk sampling with like a scalpel.
Yep. Take no prisoners.
There you go, Tim. All right, folks. So there you go. That's the update on this really great results from their recent drilling. That I think this picture here of the when they trenched and could expose the vein has helped them to get these kind of results, and I think it's going to keep on helping them. And I've always said that Moosehead is a great project, and once they figure it out, then it could get really exciting. And well, it's been exciting all along because these are not isolated hits. They've hit a lot of high grade gold in this system, a lot of visible gold, but really pinpointing where you got to go is not easy, as you can see in this trench here. But when you can see it, his Dr. Collard, who's a structural expert, can then help project deeper, and that's what's helped them get these results. So, as always, be aware that um, Sokoman is a kind sponsor of my work. They pay me to help them put some content together, but they do not pay me for my opinion. My opinion is based on 30 years of exploration experience, having worked with great geophysicists, great geochemists, great geologists, and but they do help me to not only produce content for them, but their sponsors help me to produce content for the industry advocation work that I do. But keep that bias in your mind, and do your homework. Speak with your financial advisors before you make any investment decisions. This is only for information purposes. Read the news release closely. Do your homework on their website. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon.